Hey guys, Encore Performance here, back with my second video. In this one, I will be playing with a teammate against two hardest AIs. My teammate and I will be playing as the Koreans, and I will be going for a Galley rush on the map Black Forest. Our opponents are both playing the Bulgarians. As you can see, on Black Forest, there's a chance of it having 1 to 8 lakes, or ponds, and we got really lucky with this map. We had all 8. So if you get one close enough to the town center like it is in this situation, or here, then you can show up with a dock, which the hardest AI doesn't deem threatening, and build a couple of galleys and just ruin his entire economy. Just like the tower rush, speed is key in this one, so I'm already sending villagers to wall him into a smaller area. We'll also want to separate him from his ally, as two hardest AIs will be tributing resources to each other. They'll be going for counter-working strategies, such as one's going to go for skirmishers and the other pikemen, as those both counter each other, or counter each other's counters. As the skirmisher would counter the archers you'd use to counter your spearmen, and then the spearmen would counter the scouts you'd use on the skirmishers. We're again starting with medium resources, so we'll have a bit more wood than usual. We're going to be having the same build order as the last one, with not very many buildings at all. Just a few more on wood and gold this time, and way less on stone. It seems some of his sheep got spawned out here, and are having a very bad time stranded. We'll leave them there until afterwards for the victory feast. Then they can come ashore. As you can see here, I was also quite happy with the pockets that I very much disagree with, where the majority of them were actually open in this game. There was still 2 separated. As the Koreans, I have a very large amount of bonuses towards my towers, and a very large amount of bonuses towards my navy and siege. Looking at villager count, my teammate and I are currently on the bottom side, but that should hopefully change. Or will hopefully change. A wolf here coming from my villager. Hopefully the scout will come help. And look at this guy. A damsel in distress right in front of him, and he just takes off. As you can see here, my teammate is only just starting to send a scout to go and look around his opponent's base, and then he'll be sending villagers, even though I would have sent these quite a while back, as I did. Down here we had a close save from this wolf, so he'll be going hungry tonight. As you can see here, this is one of the best areas for this lake to spawn, as we've got 2 of his golds covered, his berries if we're quick enough, and it trapped these 3 sheep out here. We can even get at his wood line. Over here I sadly trapped my opponent's scout on the other half of the map, leaving it for my teammate to deal with. And now this guy wants to go home, but he's about to realize he's going to have to run the full loop. And even then, he's just going to find a wall in his way. And the lower AI is just starting to go up to feudal age, and the second one should follow soon. I noticed he was hunting the deer, and I suppose to substitute for a sheep, and I kinda didn't like that, so my villager right away is going to go hunting. Another wolf, and this is where we'll be putting the dock out of his town center's range, but still we'll be able to reach the town center with our galleys. Hopefully. At first, Noahs they'll each have 6 range, but once I get my fletching upgrades, which apply to towers and archers, and galleys as well, then I'll be able to outrange his town center, and that's when it's game, basically. I should be going up to feudal soon, so I'll just fast forward it while we wait. And you can see what's happened to those poor ibexes, not deer. And we're just going to be towering this gold. So, I lied, we will be building a tower or two, but only in this little area, as our galleys should have this whole area covered. My teammate and I have just started going up to feudal age, and he attempted a very poor wall, as I'd say he overextended himself and used far too many resources on it. I would have put it right here, and then perhaps done a double layer, and then slowly expanded outwards. I'm almost at feudal age, and as soon as I am, I'll be queuing up galleys. What I was doing here is I was trying to trap his villagers inside, but it didn't work out. And there go the galleys. I'm building a blacksmith to research fletching. Meanwhile, over here, this scout really is persistent to find his way home. I transitioned onto berries for a moment just as I was quite focused here and I wanted a nice quick food source. As you can see here, I've done a slightly wider protective wall for my villager, as I'd like to build a second tower. That way I'll have this entire area fully secure. At the start, I wasn't managing my galleys very well, and they continued to get in the range of the town center, and they don't fare so well against it. As you can see, we've already gotten 2 villagers, and we've made a couple more idle. Down here, my scout got taken out by spearmen. We are going to be putting a fueling stone, just as I'd like one more tower here. So you can see these 2 should hopefully get these spearmen off of it. As you can see, there's the one defensive tower they'll always make, and my teammate was really struggling, as the other hardest AI was quite clever and put his in an excellent place, keeping this wall open, protecting his gold. Another thing my teammate should have done is not walled off this gold. He should have left the outside of it exposed, and that way you'd have villagers lured to it, and then hopefully they'd be shot. As you can see, my teammate's in a really bad situation with this tower, as they can't get close, they can't wall this in. Down here, on the other hand, I've put up 3 towers and no more after that. And I've noticed this one tower keeps trying to take down my gate, so I've been repairing it. You can see, last time we were here, we had 4 galleys. Now we only have 2, as I mentioned earlier. I put them on no attack stance, and I would manually click on a villager, but should that villager run towards the town center, it'd be the end of my galleys. As you can see, they're actually very effective against villagers, and have a far wider range than the tower, as they are able to move around. And this scout's almost home. He thinks he's made it. And he's just realized what's to become of him. If we switch to the scout, And look. Oh, poor guy. He still thinks this is open though. These galleys, as long as they're properly managed, as long as you get your upgrades, they do extremely well. That's 5 villagers there. They're going for a 6th. I went on to fishing here again as my wood was really going down as I was hurrying with to produce my galleys, so I couldn't transition into farms just yet. More villagers. I'm now going up to Castle Age, and this AI has, as they still have their gold, whereas my teammate and my opponent have not. And he's already opening with battering rams. So it's not looking good on this side. My opponent has just managed to get an archery range down and is coming out with skirmishers. Another thing the Koreans have is as they go up to an age, all tower upgrades are immediately researched, so you saw the very quick change there as I went up. I've walled in this rel because it's the only one my opponent will have access to, so I want to deny him that opportunity. These 3 sheep switched allegiances very quickly when they realized who was in charge, who was making the calls. The only thing you want to watch is town centers with galleys, and if he gets a mangonel or an onager, it can wipe them out in large groups. And a bit of attempted micro with this villager here, but this tower still has murder holes, so these spearmen can attack it freely. We've upgraded to galleys. It was the first thing I did as I went up to Castle Age, and now I'm going to get 2 turtle ships. As with my upgrades, these actually will have 1 more range than turtle ships, but a war galley deals 8 damage and a turtle ship deals 50. And their projectiles fire a lot faster. I was building a couple of militia here just to take down this tower as it was really giving me fits. I've lured a boar now. I've put 4 on stone as I'd like to drop a castle on him to finish it. Or I am dropping a castle. To help my ally, as I never ended up putting one here, my turtle ships and galleys really had it under control. What I should have done is prioritized this area first, as that's 5 villagers working gathering food. As you can see here, my teammate also went for the galleys, as the Koreans have a good bonus towards them, as I mentioned earlier, with the cheaper wood cost. But he doesn't have any of his oh, he's still in feudal. And this scout's just given up. He's realized there's no meaning. These galleys didn't really do much other than A, defend this gold, and B, help me get this castle up. My war galleys now finally outrange the town center by 1, and later on by 2 if I get my research when I go up to Imperial Age. And they are having a blast with it. Or is it the turtle ships that are having a blast with their cannonballs? I realized I couldn't reach these villagers, so I decided just to take out the mill, which would cause them to move to closer, more efficient farms, so they thought. And he's coming out with quite a few more skirmishers. This family member of mine really likes units and hasn't really understood that a tower can do a lot more than 5 or 10 spearmen. So that's what he's gone for. And no upgrades on them either. I'd say a villager would win in a 1v1. Because, well, the spearman has 5 more HP. The lumberjack has 1 melee armor and 3 pierce. Scouts, though, are a much better choice. I approve of that. My castle was up, and I was pointing out that there was a battering ram coming out. I was creating petards to quickly ruin his economy. Meanwhile, over here, our war guys have taken out the town center, and I'm keeping them currently, but should I hit my pop limit, I would delete them. I'm just keeping them currently as they're helping me, making sure that this guy's done for good. Couple more petards coming out. I should have ideally gone for the siege workshop first to prevent more battering rams from coming out. Speaking of battering rams, I'm creating one of my own here. I want to take out this stable and then move on to the barracks, as the archery ranges really aren't causing me any grief. They're using his resources and I don't mind that at all. I left my villagers on stone, so I ended up building a second castle here and researching Bodkin Arrow, which will increase my galley's range even more, which will increase my castle's range. I'm building my war wagon, which is my castle unique unit, as they're decent for raiding because of the speed, but for the most part they deal they deal 11 damage against each battering ram, so I'd like to prevent my castle from being taken down by any of those. Building a stable, as I'd like to send some knights to raid this AI's economy, and I'd like to send some down to finish Gabdul off, whose scout has started back up again. Another one of the factors for the turtle ship instead of the galley is more HP, much more armor, and it definitely looks cooler with that head and all the spikes. My war wagon also has quite high pierce armor and does quite well up against skirmishers. Here I kept sending my petards in one at a time, which I realized later was quite a bad mistake, as they couldn't take it down fast enough before the villagers came in and repaired it. You can see how well my war wagon's holding up against the town center filled with villagers, which it shouldn't have been, but it does quite well. I think of it as a mounted scorpion. So, it doesn't do so good alone other than just chasing villagers off like that, or up against siege. It deals its 11 damage. I just like them when you have a large mass of them. Quite a few can take out quite a large bunch of units. This castle's almost up. We're building more petards here. And I think we're finally going to get the siege workshop with the war wagon. Oh, another tower. So I built 4 total. I'll speed it up for a second. There's this villager left for purple. This villager and his 2 archery ranges. And he had his scout. And some non-upgraded, still not upgraded, spearmen, not pikemen, running, oh, still feudal. As you can see, I focused more on ships, and I only just transitioned into farms. for a couple of nights as I had a fair amount of gold, whereas my teammate kinda didn't, he didn't really make his mind up about anything, which I would say is his problem because we're seeing such a large variety of units here and strategies, as he didn't really choose one thing. He's got 2 on gold, some on wood, quite a few on farms though. And quite a few towers. That flare was I was letting my teammate know about. There was a spearman here fighting off a villager, and I was trying to tell him to pull it out, but it didn't make it. As you can see here, he just doesn't have it garrisoned. Building a couple more petards, sending some knights down to finish off what's left of this guy's economy. Just one, as I could see almost all the way here with my ships. I knew he didn't have anything other than, I knew he had a lumber camp here, so I was assuming he had villagers down here since I never really ventured down here. And the scout runs past, and now's your chance, run! Run, lady! Oh. Well, at least she was dedicated to her job. And here my knights are having a very large impact on what's left of our opponent's economy. Sorry, knights. I'm going for his last town center with 1 petard and 2. He still has a monastery with a relic in it, archery range, and a stable. Building a siege workshop now that I feel a battering ram would be more cost effective. Oh, and a barracks. Not very much of a barracks, but still a barracks. Meanwhile, purple has an archery range that won't be here for long. And yep, no more purple. My teammate's just gone up to Castle Age. And he was getting his research on galleys because I don't think he really realized we had the game already. And coming up with the castle, it's a bit late. No, he did fine. I'm thinking in the future, I can't do it just yet, but with some practice, I think my next video will be myself up against 2 hardest AIs, as I can currently beat 2 hard, but 2 hardest makes things a lot more difficult too. And the AI will actually still consider the market a building and won't resign until it's destroyed as well. As I suppose if he had 100 wood and 50 gold and we left it, he could build a trade cart, trade with his ally, and then give his ally gold even though his ally's out. And I think that's the end of the market. Coming out with the famous Korean mangonels, but that's game. Can return to the map. As you can see, I think it would have been a lot better to maybe have done a small little area here and done a tower, and then walled this in here. Just for advice, but it worked. If you're attempting this strategy, you can let your opponent have wood, but that's about it. So if you're going to give him any open ground, you want to monitor it, because otherwise he might put down some farms. You kind of want to leave some open and easy to reach to try and lure some villagers away, which is why I left all of this. But you want to keep any resources that could be helpful to him, such as a relic or gold, out of his hands. I could have finished purple off a lot earlier. I just was quite focused up here. And you can see my villager count was 23. We can quickly look at statistics before we end. Stars and everything. Killed the most units. We did get quite a few skirmishers, and I'm going to say lots of villagers. Lost the least as well. And the majority of those were galleys that got too close to the town center. Look at economy, I got the most gold. Canadian Conan got the most stone. Here I got even less researches than my last game, but that was all I needed. And no one actually reached Imperial, I was wrong. And you can see the statistics for purple that's where my dock came up with, or that's when my dock started producing galleys. And for blue, I'm going to say blue wasn't actually going down here, just slightly. It's just we were going up. And I'm going to say that's where my castle was. And then you can see the descent. Okay. Thanks for watching. Bye.